The Internet Originality Rehabilitation Center. Because stealing somebody else's entire personality is not a coping mechanism. Are you suffering from chronic online identity confusion? Do you find yourself recreating another woman's selfies, copying gym poses, stealing captions, mirroring facial expressions, or emotionally refreshing Facebook every 6 minutes waiting for Harlow to post again? If so, you may be experiencing advanced copycat syndrome. And friend, you are not alone. Every year, thousands of emotionally exhausted internet users lose the ability to develop their own personality. Symptoms may include sudden gym photo duplication, aggressive inspirational quote posting, fake confidence captions, accidental matching selfies, and dangerous levels of obsession with another woman simply existing. Becky G. I saw Harlow post a workout picture, and suddenly I bought leggings, a ring light, and 3 self-help books I never read. Boss Fat Ladybird. I used to have hobbies. Now I just monitor Facebook like a divorced FBI agent. Michelle. I copied one selfie as a joke, then 6 months later I didn't even know who I was anymore. At the Internet Originality Rehabilitation Center, we help internet copycats rediscover the lost art of independent thought, personal identity, emotional stability, and posting pictures without spiritually cosplaying another human being. Our licensed specialists offer groundbreaking recovery programs, including personality reconstruction therapy. Learn how to form your own opinions, create original captions, take unique selfies, and survive 24 hours without stalking somebody else's Facebook page. The Harlow Detox Program. Patients are slowly reintroduced to reality through controlled exposure therapy. Day 1, no screenshotting. Day 3, no comparison posting. Day 7, patients successfully post a selfie without copying another woman's angle for the first time in years. Doctors describe the moment as emotionally historic. Becky G. I finally realized I could just be myself. In severe cases, patients may also receive emergency identity counseling, ring light confiscation, motivational quote restrictions, and supervised social media privileges. Because, according to medical professionals, confidence cannot be downloaded through imitation. Warning: failure to seek treatment may result in chronic jealousy, online personality duplication, emotional peacocking, secondhand insecurity, and becoming boss ladybird. Don't let social media obsession destroy what little dignity Facebook left behind. Call the Internet Originality Rehabilitation Center today. Operators are standing by.
Dramatic intelligence. When survival becomes perception. A Pizzaverse Studios documentary. A Palermo Productions original. Written by Bambi Palermo. Narrated by Vincent Vinny DiPrio. Some people walk into a room and see a room. Other people walk into that same room and immediately notice who's uncomfortable, who's pretending, who's angry, who doesn't trust whom, and exactly how close the whole damn thing is to going sideways. They don't consciously analyze it. They just know. For years, we've called people like this intuitive, perceptive, observant, emotionally intelligent. But sometimes there's another question hiding underneath those labels. Where did they learn to pay attention like that? Because some forms of perception aren't developed in classrooms. They're developed in environments where missing a change in somebody's voice, expression, mood, or behavior could have consequences. Psychology does not formally recognize a diagnosis called traumatic intelligence. But the phrase can describe something very real. The collection of adaptations that sometimes emerge from adversity. Hypervigilance. Pattern recognition. Emotional sensitivity. Self-reliance. The ability to function during chaos. The instinct to examine what people do instead of simply believing what they say. None of these automatically make someone wiser. Trauma isn't a superpower. And suffering should never be romanticized simply because somebody survived it. But human beings adapt. And sometimes those adaptations become so deeply woven into a person that survival eventually starts looking like personality. So today we're examining 11 signs that adversity may have changed not only what you fear, but how you see. Welcome to the Pizzaverse. Sign 1. Your nervous system never fully powers down. The first sign is the most physical one, and it's one almost no one connects with perception. You may rarely experience what other people describe as completely relaxing. Not completely. Not all the way. There's a baseline hum that never quite leaves you. A quiet alertness. A tendency to scan even when you're alone, even when everything is objectively fine. Psychologists commonly describe an extreme version of this pattern as hypervigilance. It can develop when the brain learns that safety isn't guaranteed, that the environment can change without warning, and that being prepared may matter. Research has associated childhood adversity and trauma-related symptoms with alterations in attention toward threat and increased reactivity within neural systems involved in detecting danger. But heightened vigilance does not necessarily mean someone reads every situation more accurately. Sometimes it increases sensitivity to real danger. Sometimes it can cause neutral or ambiguous signals to feel threatening. Still, that vigilance can make you notice things other people miss. The half-second hesitation before someone says they're happy for you. The tension in a room that hasn't been named yet. The subtle change in someone's behavior before anyone says something is wrong. Your nervous system may have been trained to scan for threat. And in the process, it may have become unusually attentive to details other people routinely filter out. The cost? You can become tired in a way that isn't purely physical. The potential advantage? You sometimes notice what others walk right past. Sign 2. You notice what someone may be trying to hide. The second sign builds directly from the first. And it's one that can make people deeply uncomfortable, including you. You don't only notice surface emotions. You notice contradictions between what someone says and what their behavior seems to communicate. You hear the strange note in a compliment. You notice anger underneath a smile, grief underneath a laugh, insecurity dressed up as confidence. And here's what's strange. You don't necessarily try to do this. You aren't sitting there deliberately analyzing every person you meet. Sometimes it feels automatic. Almost as though your brain is running a background process and handing you conclusions before you consciously know how you reached them. Researchers have studied how childhood maltreatment and adversity may influence attention toward emotional expressions and threat cues. The findings aren't identical across every study, but there is substantial evidence that early adversity can alter the way emotional faces and threatening information are processed. Children who need to track a caregiver's emotional state may learn very early that tiny changes in voice, posture, facial expression, or behavior matter. In adulthood, that can sometimes resemble unusually strong intuition. It can look like emotional intelligence. It can feel like seeing through people. But there's an important distinction. You can be extremely perceptive and still be wrong. A nervous system designed to detect danger can occasionally detect danger where none exists. The burden isn't that you're somehow always right. It's that you notice so much information that other people never consciously register. And carrying perceptions about people who haven't asked you to see them that closely can create a very particular kind of loneliness. Sign 3. Chaos doesn't always rattle you. Calm sometimes does. This third sign sounds almost backwards. When everything falls apart during a crisis, an emergency, or a moment when other people freeze or panic, something in you may become quiet and strategic. Your thinking sharpens. You move through the chaos with a clarity that surprises everyone around you, sometimes including yourself. But when things become calm, when life is stable and predictable and nothing is obviously wrong, restlessness can appear. Anxiety without an obvious source begins floating to the surface. Researchers sometimes use the term stress inoculation to describe the idea that exposure to manageable or moderate stress, particularly when someone has adequate coping resources, may under certain circumstances strengthen later resilience. But that doesn't mean severe childhood trauma is beneficial. Studies suggest the relationship between stress and resilience can be nonlinear. Moderate, manageable stress may sometimes help develop coping skills, while overwhelming or chronic stress can increase vulnerability instead. The paradox can still feel very real. You may function beautifully in conditions that overwhelm other people. But peace, real sustained peace, can feel strangely foreign. It can feel like waiting. If your nervous system spent years learning that calm was simply the space between storms, safety itself may take time to become familiar. Sign 4. You became a student of human behavior without ever choosing to. Here's something fascinating. Most people can move through much of life taking behavior relatively close to face value. Someone is angry, so they assume the anger is about what's happening right now. Someone is distant, so they assume that person is cold. Someone is extremely kind, so they assume kindness is simply that person's nature. You may find that much harder to do. Not because you're smarter than everyone else. Because you learned very early that what people show you and what's actually happening underneath can be two completely different things. So you became a student of human nature. You studied the people around you, their patterns, their triggers, their inconsistencies. You learned to ask what might be underneath the behavior. Maybe this person lashes out because they were never taught to name their emotions. Maybe this person people pleases because affection once felt conditional. Maybe this person desperately controls everything because at some point everything felt uncontrollable. You do this almost instinctively now. And sometimes it makes you deeply understanding. Sometimes too understanding. Because there's a danger here too. Understanding why someone behaves badly doesn't mean you have to excuse what they do. Seeing the wound that may have produced the weapon doesn't mean you have to stand there while someone uses it against you. What you've developed is a tendency to look beneath behavior. You don't just see what someone does. You look for the architecture underneath it. And when people tell you they feel deeply seen by you, this may be part of the reason. Sign 5. You built yourself because you learned not to expect rescue. The 5th sign may have shaped your entire life, and you may not even recognize it as adaptation. You are fiercely, almost unnaturally self-reliant. You don't wait for people to save you. You don't expect rescue. When something needs to be done, you do it quietly, without fanfare, often without telling anyone it's happening at all. People who know you sometimes find this surprising. From the outside, it can look like you don't need anyone. But the reality may be more complicated. You may have learned at an age when you should have been learning completely different things that, depending on people, could be risky. That help didn't always arrive. That support could be inconsistent. So you became competent, resourceful, independent. The brain, facing an unreliable external world, sometimes learns to depend heavily on internal resources. The result can be someone who is remarkably capable, someone who builds quietly, someone who solves problems before anyone else even realizes there's a problem. But the cost is worth naming. You can learn to survive alone so effectively that accepting help later feels unnatural. And asking for help, not because you're incapable, but simply because you shouldn't have to carry everything yourself, can become one of the hardest things to learn. Now, I want to stop here for a moment. Because if these first 5 signs have already started landing somewhere deep in you, if you're recognizing yourself in words you never had before, there's something important to remember. These patterns aren't proof that you have some secret diagnosis called traumatic intelligence. But many of the underlying adaptations we're talking about, including hypervigilance, altered threat processing, heightened emotional reactivity, resilience, and changes in interpersonal behavior, are well documented in trauma and developmental research. And becoming aware of them can help turn automatic survival habits into choices you actually control. Sign 6. You feel everything at a volume other people seem to turn down. The 6th sign may have made you wonder, at different points in your life, why you seem to experience certain things so intensely. You don't just experience emotions, sometimes you absorb them. Music doesn't just sound good, it moves through you like weather. A kind gesture from a stranger can genuinely bring tears to your eyes. Injustice doesn't simply bother you, you feel it physically. You disagree with someone, walk away, and sometimes still feel the tension hours later. Other people appear to move through emotional experiences and release them. You may have no idea how the hell they do it. For you, emotions have weight, texture, duration. They stay. Repeated adversity can affect the functioning of systems involved in emotional processing and stress regulation, including the amygdala and interconnected brain networks. But again, people respond differently, and adversity does not automatically make someone more emotional or more empathetic. What it can do is shape the sensitivity of the system. And in some people, that sensitivity becomes part of how they create, connect, notice suffering, and relate to others. The cost and the potential gift can come from the same instrument. You simply had to learn how to play it without ever asking for the damn instrument in the first place. Sign 7. Your trust isn't given, it's earned. This seventh sign is one people sometimes misunderstand as coldness or distance. You don't trust easily. Not with your inner world. Not with the version of yourself that isn't performing. You can stand in a room full of people who genuinely like you and still feel fundamentally unknown. Other people seem to open up quickly. They share. They assume goodwill. They move through relationships with an ease that looks foreign to you. Your trust isn't a switch. It's a door that opens gradually after consistency has been demonstrated over time. Your mind learned that not every smile means safety. That I love you and loving behavior are not always the same thing. That people who were supposed to protect someone can sometimes fail them. So you notice consistency. You cross-reference words against actions. You watch promises and follow through. You remember patterns. That can protect you. It can also make closeness difficult when the threat system becomes too cautious. But when you finally let someone in, they aren't meeting only a surface version of you. They're meeting someone you have chosen to trust deliberately. You're not incapable of connection. You simply need connection to prove itself. Sign 8. You predict endings because you've studied beginnings. Here is something you may have experienced dozens of times without naming it. You meet someone and fairly quickly, you develop a strong feeling about where the relationship is heading. You watch a friend enter a relationship and immediately notice patterns that concern you. You hear a business idea and spot a flaw other people haven't considered. You sit in a meeting and recognize weak points in the proposal before anyone else brings them up. People sometimes call this pessimism or overanalysis. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes you are. Because nobody has supernatural predictive accuracy. But pattern recognition is real. And if you spent years needing to anticipate shifts in behavior or environment, you may have accumulated an enormous internal library of patterns. Your brain takes current information and compares it with things you've already experienced. Tone. Timing. Body language. Contradictions. Patterns of escalation. Patterns of withdrawal. You aren't literally seeing the future. You're estimating a trajectory. And when that prediction turns out to be accurate, it can feel almost eerie. The harder part comes when you see a possibility developing before everyone around you is ready to see it. That distance between what you suspect and what everyone else is still discovering can become one of the quieter forms of loneliness. Sign 9. Stillness can feel like a threat your body hasn't unlearned. The 9th sign lives largely in the body. When things become quiet, genuinely quiet, something in you may tense. Not dramatically, just a background hum of unease you've learned to live with. You find it difficult to sit still. Difficult not to be productive. Difficult simply to exist without a task, plan, or destination. Vacations can exhaust you in ways that are difficult to explain. A weekend with nothing scheduled can sometimes feel heavier than a workday. Meditation, which is calming for many people, can initially make anxiety feel louder for some trauma survivors because removing distraction makes internal sensations more noticeable. Your autonomic nervous system operates largely beneath conscious control. If it learned during important developmental periods that danger could appear unexpectedly, it may continue responding to uncertainty long after the original circumstances have changed. Your life may be genuinely safe now while part of your nervous system is still operating according to older information. Still scanning. Still preparing. Still braced. That doesn't mean peace is impossible. It means safety can sometimes become something the nervous system has to learn through experience, rather than something the conscious mind can simply order it to feel. Sign 10. You turned your wound into a way of seeing. Now we arrive at the 10th sign. And this one changes the direction of the story. Adversity can absolutely leave psychological scars. It can increase vulnerability to anxiety, depression, PTSD, and other difficulties. But trauma outcomes aren't uniform. Many people recover. Some demonstrate remarkable resilience, and some report positive psychological changes while still acknowledging the suffering they endured. Psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun helped establish the concept of post-traumatic growth, describing positive changes that some people report following the struggle with major adversity. Research has identified themes such as deeper relationships, new possibilities, greater personal strength, changes in spirituality or worldview, and increased appreciation for life. Importantly, post-traumatic growth does not mean the trauma was good, necessary, or worth experiencing. And growth can exist alongside continuing distress. You didn't choose the wound. But over time, consciously or unconsciously, you may have shaped what you did with what the wound revealed. Maybe you understand suffering differently because you've been close to it. Not from a distance. Not simply as an idea you read about, but as something that once existed inside your world. And that proximity can sometimes give a person an unusual willingness to sit beside someone else's pain without immediately trying to escape it. You don't necessarily need to fix it. You don't need to rush past it. Sometimes you understand something simpler. Presence matters. Sign 11. You carry meaning like oxygen. And this brings us to the 11th and final sign. The one that pulls everything else together. You may find it almost impossible to live a completely surface-level life. Other people can tolerate a job that means nothing to them because the paycheck is good. Other people can move through long stretches of life without asking what any of it means. They can fill the hours with distractions and keep moving. You may struggle to do that. When your life becomes disconnected from purpose, something inside you begins to feel hollow. Not dramatically. Quietly. A feeling you sometimes recognize in your body before you can explain it in words. Maybe part of that comes from having spent years thinking deeply about safety, relationships, people, motives, consequences, and what actually matters. When life has forced someone to confront difficult realities early, shallow explanations may stop feeling satisfying. You've seen enough complexity to know that life rarely fits into simple categories. And there's something important in that. Not proof that you're superior. Not evidence that trauma secretly gave you a superpower. But evidence that human beings can adapt in extraordinarily complicated ways. What once protected you can later become exhausting. What once made you vigilant can later make you perceptive. What once kept you emotionally guarded can eventually make genuine trust extraordinarily meaningful. And what began as survival can, under the right circumstances, become wisdom. What's interesting about all 11 of these signs is how easily they can be misread. The person who can't fully relax looks anxious. The person who notices contradictions looks judgmental. The person who stays calm during chaos looks detached. The person who trusts slowly looks cold. The person who struggles with meaningless routines looks difficult to satisfy. But sometimes what looks like a collection of disconnected difficulties is actually a set of adaptations built around one basic lesson. Pay attention. Something might happen. A mind shaped by adversity can become extraordinarily attentive to certain kinds of information. But that sharpness came with a cost. And we should never romanticize the fire simply because someone learned how to survive it. Trauma doesn't automatically create wisdom. It doesn't automatically create empathy. It doesn't automatically create emotional intelligence. And suffering isn't a prerequisite for depth. But people can develop remarkable strengths while adapting to circumstances they never should have been forced to endure. That distinction matters. So when we talk about traumatic intelligence, we aren't talking about a clinical category. We're talking about something more human. The skills, habits, sensitivities, defenses, and ways of seeing that sometimes emerge when a person spends years learning how to navigate an unpredictable world. Some of those adaptations may still protect you. Some may now exhaust you. Some may need to be unlearned. And some may have become genuine strengths. The question isn't whether the trauma was worth it. It wasn't required for you to have value. The question is what you choose to do now with everything you learned while surviving it. Because surviving taught you how to read the room. Living gets to teach you what to do once you've read it. That, right there, is the difference. And that's where the story gets interesting. This brings us to the end. Maybe you recognized yourself somewhere in these 11 signs. Maybe you recognized somebody you love. Or maybe this helped explain a person you could never completely understand before. Whatever brought you here, remember the distinction that matters most. Trauma doesn't automatically make somebody wiser. Pain doesn't automatically create empathy. And suffering isn't some twisted entrance fee for becoming a deeper human being. But people adapt. They rebuild. They take instincts created for survival and, sometimes, learn how to use them intentionally. The nervous system that once watched constantly for danger can learn what safety feels like. The person who trusted nobody can learn that some people actually earn a place beside them. And the mind that spent years predicting the next storm can eventually learn that sometimes the sky really is clear. You don't have to forget what survival taught you. You just don't have to live forever as though the emergency is still happening. Survival taught you how to read the room. Living teaches you what to do once you've read it. And maybe that's where intelligence finally becomes wisdom.
If you enjoy deep dives into psychology, hidden history, organized crime, strange legends, dark fairy tales, old Hollywood, and the stories powerful people would prefer you never examine too closely. Subscribe to Bambi Palermo and the Pizzaverse. Around here, we don't settle for the surface. We dig underneath it. We ask why. We examine the uncomfortable parts. And occasionally, Ghosta has to come in with a psychological crowbar because apparently subtlety took the friggin' day off. And before we get out of here, thank you to the real ones. The people who watch. The people who comment. The people who share these documentaries. The people who have been here while the Pizzaverse keeps growing into something bigger, stranger, darker, and considerably more interesting. You guys make these deep dives possible. So stay sharp. Stay skeptical. Stay authentic. Take care of yourselves, take care of the people who've earned a place beside you, and I'll see you at the next one. This is the Pizzaverse, where we don't rewrite psychology. We examine what's underneath it. Spirit of the Internet presents MobTube, the only corner of YouTube where everybody knows everybody. Everybody hates everybody. And somehow they're all scheduled on the same live stream Friday night. Tired of ordinary YouTube communities where people discuss hobbies, exchange ideas, and behave like functioning adults? Then congratulations. You're ready for MobTube, where a simple sentence like, "I disagree with what he said," can become a 4-hour live stream, 7 reaction videos, 3 emergency panels, 2 former friends releasing screenshots, and 1 guy screaming. Let me finish. Every MobTube membership includes the official Internet Wise Guy microphone, scientifically engineered to make every story sound 37% more important. The friendship expiration calendar, because today's brother is tomorrow's thumbnail. The MobTube loyalty meter with 3 convenient settings. Brother for life. I never really trusted him. And who the hell is that guy? You'll also receive the revolutionary beef recycling system. Got an argument from 6 months ago? No problem. Simply add 1 slow news day, 2 vague community posts, and a thumbnail with somebody's face circled in red. And boom. Brand new content. MobTube also features our patented story verification process. One guy says it happened. Another guy says it absolutely did not happen. A third guy wasn't there, but somehow has the strongest opinion. And the comments immediately declare somebody a rat. Nobody knows why. That's tradition. Need content? Use the emergency wise guy topic generator. Simply spin the wheel. Who was really made? Who was really around? Who was really connected? Who really knew who? Who paid for dinner in 1987? And everybody's favorite. What he doesn't want you to know. Warning. Extended exposure to MobTube may result in compulsive live streaming, chronic screenshot possession, sudden podcast appearances, excessive use of the phrase "the truth is going to come out," and believing a YouTube wrench constitutes federal authority. Side effects may also include starting sentences with "I wasn't gonna say anything," immediately saying everything, announcing you're done with the drama, returning 12 minutes later, and spending 6 hours explaining why you definitely don't care. So come on down to MobTube, where everybody's connected. Everybody's got receipts. Everybody knows the real story. And somehow, nobody can remember what the original argument was about. MobTube. Come for the mob stories. Stay because somebody just went live screaming your username. No sit down required. Apparently, we're handling everything in the community tab now.
I've gotta keep the calm before the storm. I don't want less, I don't want more. Must bar the windows and the doors to keep me safe, to keep me warm. Yeah, my life is what I'm fighting for. Can't part the sea, can't reach the shore. And my voice becomes the driving force. I won't let this pull me overboard. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets harder, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. So pull me up from down below, 'cause I'm underneath the undertow. Come dry me off and hold me close. I need you now, I need you most. God, keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets harder, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. And keep my head above water, above water. And I can't see in the stormy weather. I can't seem to keep it all